Class. I want to get through this as fast as I can, so I'm just going to get started. Beautiful Soup is a library in Python that allows you to extract information, data, whatever, from HTML tags and attributes of those HTML tags in web documents or web pages, HTML specific web pages. It allows you to get the data, the information out in a structured order, in a nice, decent order, so that you can read it, not have to read the whole web page or search through everything. You can also get the links and all kinds of fun stuff. It's we liken it to a way to sort through things. A good way to sort through these HTML pages. Um, yeah, let's go. The attributes in the HTML tags. HTML tags are like your H tags, which are like, I think they stand for header tags, if I recall correctly. A P tag is a tag that's per paragraph, ordered lists. They're like, you see a bunch of list items where you see like bolted lists and so on and so forth. These are all HTML element tags. The way that it's structured is you have an H1 tag, which is surrounded by the greater than, less than symbols, and you'll have the H1. You can only use that once on an HTML page. That's where you put your title. So your title would go in between the beginning tag and the ending tag. The ending tag looks just like the beginning tag, except there's like a front slash or backslash right before the H. And everything in between there is the data. So it's what you're displaying on the screen. We put IDs and we put classes in as attributes in these HTML tags in order to identify them for JavaScript and for CSS. It allows for that identification so you can make the page interactive with JavaScript, or you can use a CSS to format, style them, make them pretty, add colors, pictures, all that fun stuff. These tags are what we use with Beautiful Soup. We kind of use them in a way where you see the H1 ID, we're using it as a dictionary to use for the index value. So everything that's in that H1 tag, in this case, there's not a lot in H1 tags, so we'll say it's an ordered list tag, so an OL tag. So in this case, it would be, you'd have all the list items. So everything like in a bulleted list or in a numbered list, it would all be an index value, which is why we do the brackets and make it a dictionary. It's very useful. We can extract it all that way as text or however we want to. We can get the tags with it. We can get the other attributes of the tags with it, as you'll see here. Um, uh, so to get just the text, we can use the find_all method, which is the same as a function. Its method is just the object-oriented way of saying, function. So the P is for paragraph tag, which is what the Beautiful Soup, when you import it, it knows that. It knows P, it knows OL, it knows LI for list item, and it knows H1, whatever for header tags, things like that. That's all imported with requests and with Beautiful Soup, specifically with Beautiful Soup is what we're referring to here. So you can use the find all, but that returns everything. That returns all of the tag information, the attributes, so on and so forth, and all the data in between. So it can be kind of messy. It's harder to read, not really super valuable for a lot of people. So what we do instead is we use the .text method or the .get text method. They're basically the same thing. And you can pass an argument through there, through your parentheses. That's what it's for. That's what the parentheses is for, is to pass the argument through. An argument is just basically a value, anything that you want to pass through in order to make the method, do whatever it's supposed to do to that argument or to that variable or whatever it is you pass through those parentheses. So I pass a variable through it, then it knows, oh, that's where I'm going to get it from. That's where I'm going to get the information from. There's another way to do that in Python called the dot method, which is why you see things constantly combined with a dot or with a period. So like the soup dot get underscore text method. This is pointing at what it does with the dot method typically is it points it towards either a variable or a dictionary or wherever we're getting things from, and it combines it in a way that is just to point the method towards it to say this is where you want to get the information from. That's it. It can do it. You can combine it with libraries, and you can combine it with variables, dictionaries, all that stuff. Kind of a variable, basically. I did it a little bit of a different way. I used p.get. It's because I used p as the variable. I'll show you why in the next slide. P up here, as you can see, this is find all. This is the a example of the attribute for the HTML tags. So class underscore equals specific class, whatever the class name is. Class here, it's because class is a keyword in Python because Python's an object-oriented programming language. So it changes it and adds the underscore there to differentiate it from the keyword in Python. This is how you pass it through. and this is telling it where to look or what to look for, whatever. This is the class ID, so we're how to chunk it, whatever. Like each method's a little different. So we'll move on here. BeautifulSoup example here, the one that I did. We imported it, and we had to also import requests. Sorry, whoever did requests. We kind of had to do both a little bit. I'm not going to talk about that though. Let you talk about that. But anyway, response equals request.get. So this is we're using the get method to point towards the request library so that it can do its magic or whatever that's in that library, which is just a file, by the way. It's just another Python file like what you and me make in class. It's sometimes a couple files, and they point towards each other using import. You can import them from other files. You can do it with your own file, by the way. Whatever you have named, import it. Anyway, so and you use whatever those functions are that's in there. So we're getting it from the docs for Python. We're going down here. We're using the response.text. That's a way to say we want text. And we're using the response connecting here because that's where we're getting the information from. We use these tools to get the information. Response.text. HTML data is what we called it as variable name. And then we use soup is what we call the BeautifulSoup. HTML data connects right here. So that's what we're going to use. We want that response.text, and we want to use the parser. We want to pass the parser through with it too. All the parser does is gets the information and then converts it. It just says, hey, we're going to convert this binary to hexadecimal, or we're gonna parse it. So we're going to convert it and get it. It's a kind of like function, it's a tool, whatever you want to call it, to make things happen. And then our variable name here, div. Div is a way to section off HTML pages. We use soup.find because we called BeautifulSoup this parsing message for getting the data. We called it soup to make it easy to understand. Find is not as good as find all, but it gets the point done, gets the job done. We're finding the section of the HTML page, the div, class underscore section, because as I said before, since class is a keyword, we got to use class underscore with that library. Section is what it's called, what the class was called. Paragraph underscore text is the new variable, which is actually not a variable by itself. It's a dictionary, as you can see the brackets here. And then in the dictionary, in order to populate this dictionary, we use p.get underscore text, which is a method. And then we're passing this method through. In order to activate this method or initialize it, we're using strip equals true. It's a Boolean, Boolean true and false, and that activates the strip method because strip is actually a method also. It's a way to combine the two, use them both for one, and then it does it from the for loop because we named it P2 because we know paragraphs, so paragraph tags. So it's taking it from the for loop, everything that came out of that for loop, and extracting that text, stripping out that white space. Is what strip does. So and the for loop is getting all of its information from in div.findAll. What do you know? So the div equals soup.find div. It's getting all this information from the div, and then what it's doing is it's looking for when we do find all, because this is from the BeautifulSoup library. We're looking for the paragraph HTML tags. That's why we have the P there. So it knows we're looking for it, which is why we use the dot method to combine it and tell the find all method to point there, and it populates in these brackets as an index. So index being, from 0 to 10 or whatever, however many paragraphs or however many chunks of data there are. Then to get those chunks of data back out, so it's not all just one big lump that you can't read, you go through and name it something. I call it text, easy to understand, or text in paragraph underscore text. Because we're getting it from this variable, we're taking out the index that just got populated from this code, and we're running it through the for loop to get it back out in those chunks. And so the text that we call it here, it knows to print those out. It's got something in there, it doesn't know what they are. We call it text, and that's how it prints it out. It's code. The code dumb, you don't know unless we tell it, right? So now it knows it's called text, and it does that. Moving on. So this is what the results look like, and it's actually readable, unbelievably. So you can actually see what it's going on. If you don't do this, you got all kinds of gobbledygook in there. You got stuff in there that you're not going to understand. You're not going to know what it is. The attributes of whatever, and classes, and examples, and CSS, and JavaScript, and everything in between, and the tags themselves. Everything goes in between the two tags, the HTML tags, which I don't have an example on this slide, but this is the end. So you can see how it's powerful, why it works. You can collect information from the websites without having to search through everything. You can let Python do it for you. You can automate the process. Once you automate the process, you can collect the data for whatever your nefarious purposes are. Okay. All right.